why people are quitting Wrath of the Lich King Classic. Are people quitting it? The only thing I can think of is they're playing retail. I can't think of anything else. There's no other games that have come out that I know of that would be having people quit Classic. Wrath of the Lich King, at least. So
why are people quitting Wrath of the Lich King Classic? 30% of players have quit Wrath.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So you may be thinking, why did they release Orduar earlier and release Dragonflight later? And it's because
Dragonflight's gonna make way more money than Wrath will. Like, it's not even a question.
Wait, what did he say?
And release Dragonflight later.
Have quit Wrath. That's a lot.
So you may be thinking, why didn't Blizzard release Orduar earlier and release Dragonflight later? And it's because
Oh, I see what he means. Yeah, I agree.
Dragonflight's gonna make way more money than Wrath will. Like, it's not even a question.
Population of Wrath of the Lich King Classic, it doesn't matter to Blizzard as much as a population of Dragonflight.
Yeah, of course. It's their live game.
It shouldn't. Like, that just makes sense.
Wrath of the Lich King Classic
cool intro.
an astonishing amount of success and play population. But recently, this month of December, the population has dropped off dramatically. In fact, it's in the ballpark.
What a surprise. People got all the gear out of Nax and then they stopped playing the game. Who could have ever predicted this?
Of 20 to 40%. And today we're going to
still haven't released yet?
To be honest with you, I think that's pretty good. To only lose 20 or 30% after having the same stale, fucking brain-dead, like, farm content available for months at this point, and still nobody is really quit, like the game isn't dead yet, that's impressive.
Why has this happened?
Yeah, most MMOs you'd lose like 60-70%, maybe more.
Is entirely impossible to do precisely since Blizzard don't release subscriber numbers anymore.
Yeah, I wonder
so
why.
we can really only make educated guesses. So this 20-40% ballpark that I'm climbing is based on Ironforge Pro website and also my own and other YouTuber analytics. You know, YouTubers who have exclusively made Wrath of the Lich King Classic content and have been doing regularly before and after the launch. By the way, guys,
I think this would probably make sense. That, like, a lot of people have quit at this point. They've done everything that they wanted to do. And also, like, the game's been out for a while. Like, a lot of times, this is the same with any expansion.
They'll probably go back up, and maybe even more so once Olden releases.
Only 30% of the people who are watching my videos are actually subscribed.
It's
so
not a bad
please
thing.
Quickly smash that sub button. It really does help out. So, as you can see, according to Ironforge Pro, at the beginning of November, there were 606,000 people raiding. And by the end of the month, there was 578,000. Of this peaked at 626,000.
That's a ton. That's like a crazy amount of people.
At the start of December, there were 544,000, and now there are 402,000 as of the week I'm making this video.
Yeah, because people are going to have all the gear. Nobody wants to re-clear Nax for the 300th time and spend 2 hours out of their day or their week to get nothing. And yeah, and it was also the holidays. Yeah. It's a good point too, yeah.
Obviously, this website only tracks people who raided in Wrath of the Lich King Classic, but according to my YouTube community poll, 7% of players did raid in Wrath of the Lich King Classic.
Yeah, I'd expect
who
that.
Voted on this poll
Sure.
anyway. So, it's fair to say that a big chunk of the player base do raids.
Yeah, of course.
So we can make an educated guess about 23%
The raids were much easier
raiding now, as of the week are coming to Xmas anyway. Because if you put this week's raid data in, it would be fairly biased because a lot of people obviously don't raid during the holidays. Most guilds don't raid anyway. This is primarily where Warcraft log data is coming from because it's less likely that people will be logging in a pug. However,
I'm very curious to know what's going to happen with Ulduar. Because there's part of me that thinks that Ulduar is going to be the reckoning for classic Andes. It's going to be like fucking Thanos snapping half of the raiders out of existence. Because
I see what he's saying.
The brain-dead guy that comes to raid drunk and spams one macro and still does enough damage for you not to kick him out of the raid, and doesn't even know what's happening, he has to stand outside the room on Hegan, or something like that. Have I been saying Olden this whole time? Or stand away from the group on Thaddeus. This guy is not going to make it in Ulduar.
I've been meaning to say Old War
is
this
like
whole time.
the-
I've probably been saying
Old War
Oldham.
was the same step up in difficulty that Sunwell was, and that Nax was. It is
Yep.
that much harder than Nax, because not only is Nax an easy raid, but Old War is also the hardest ever raid. So it's like you're comparing one of the easiest ever
time.
raids to also the hardest ever raid. So it's artificially bigger gap.
But one other thing to bear in mind is that we're at a stage in WOTLK King where people have multiple alts.
Yeah.
We were
I
talking
did the
about this
same
on my
thing
stream the
in
other night, and a
original
lot of
Wrath.
people pointed out how Warcraft log data could make the situation appear better than it really is, because
That's a good point. Yeah, people would be raiding on multiple characters at this point. So, like, if everybody's raiding on, like, let's say 1.5 characters, then you can just remove, like, 30% of the player base from there, and that's going to give you a better estimate of how many people are actually raiding, how many individual players.
the logs are also coming from alts.
Yeah,
But the total
exactly.
drop on Warcraft logs is 36%. Now, I've talked to some YouTubers who are in my field. They make WOTLK King Classic content absolutely exclusively. Obviously, I'm not going to leave their analytics or anything or reveal who I've been talking to. But these creators have been uploading before the launch, during the launch, and are still uploading pretty much on the same rate that they always
Their
have
viewership
been.
is down a lot.
And their statistics, they vary between a 30% to 50% drop, and I think most...
Well, that's just because there's nothing else to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to talk about now? Like, I mean,
There's no new content.
Wrath of the Lich King is out. What's happening? Like you don't need to. How many videos about like how to get Immortal or how to get Sartharian 3 Drakes do you
How to
need?
level up.
Right? I mean, it's just the truth. Like, it's a finite amount of content, and then whenever people run out of topics, then they try to make content out of topics that aren't as good. And guess what? People don't watch them. It's common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, fewer people are looking up guides 3 months into an expansion. Yeah, this is the same for, as somebody that's like, I've made YouTube videos for World of Warcraft. I don't know if you guys know this, but yes, used to make WoW videos for WoW videos for the retail a lot. And I did even for Classic too. Is that if you look at my analytics on like Twitch or on YouTube, you would see that views went up whenever the expansion came out. And then after the expansion came out, then they went down. That's the way every single one has gone. And guess what?
It makes sense.
What happened with every single game. It happened with Lost Ark, it happened with Final Fantasy, it happened with World of Warcraft, it happened with Dark Souls, it happened with every single one. Because people get excited at the beginning and then they drop off over time.
creators out there probably would agree.
Of course.
It's in
I mean, they do it
bulk.
with the game itself, so
This isn't a
videos
perfect
would,
method
of course,
because
make
obviously
sense.
some of the creators I asked have actually grown this month simply because they're an upcoming creator.
Sorry.
And some just simply haven't dropped that much because they began to upload more this month than they did before and during the launch.
Yeah.
Because they were obviously playing the game a lot and not making videos as much. But
Yeah, of
most
course.
people I talked to did agree that it probably is about a 30% drop. Because I also talked to some Twitch streamers and they also said that their viewer counts did feel like they had dropped by 30%.
That's a very bad. Well, it's not a bad metric, but I think that it's missing context. Twitch viewership in general is down by somewhere between 10 to 25%, depending on
Oh,
the
wow.
category. But Twitch viewership overall is down. This is because obviously nobody gives a fuck about COVID anymore. COVID is over. And
That makes
I guess
sense.
it was over 3 months ago too, but this has been a downward trend. And on top of that, Twitch has been strangling itself to death with ads. And guess what? There are people that stop watching Twitch because of ads. I mean, I think everybody's
did,
clicked off of a
so.
stream whenever you see like ads 1 of 6. You're like, fuck this. So yeah, that's affected their analytics. And
I just wait for VODs to be
the place
posted
that I
on
get that
YouTube usually.
data from is Twitch Tracker. You can look at how many people are on Twitch, how many people are on different directories, etc. And also, there's not a lot of... The reason why the WoW section has always been a very healthy section on Twitch is because there are a number of big streamers that continuously go into the section and inject it with viewers. And it's the same reason why Final Fantasy is not a popular section. It's because there are no big streamers that play Final Fantasy. Like, for example, like you talk about big streamers. Okay, you have like Mizkif, Soda Poppin, XQC, Hassan, me, Shroud, fucking Nick Merckx. Let's see, who else are we not thinking of? Like Aiden Ross, Kai, Summit, Lyric. Oh man, am I thinking of any? Who am I missing? Moist Critical, yes, Moist Critical.
Yeah.
Forzen. Like I'm talking people that get 20K, like 20K plus viewers. Fuck. I'd say that's probably like Tim the Tap Man, like Tyler One. Tyler One pretty much just plays one game. The point is that a lot of very big streamers with huge communities go into the WoW section regularly for content. Whether it's me, Shroud, Soda Poppin', fucking, like, let me think, who else really does it? I've seen even fucking Moist Critical's been playing WoW semi regularly. That was pretty cool to see. And like maybe a couple of other ones that Tim, NMP, there you go. And see all of these people go into that section, Lyric, and they inject it with their viewers. They introduce their viewers to that type of content, and then all of the other streamers in that section grow. The truth is, with Dragonflight, and also to a lesser extent with Wrath, this didn't happen. Soda Poppin' didn't even stream the release of Dragonflight. I streamed a release of Wrath on my alt. So guess what? There's not that many viewers that are going into the section, and the section isn't being fed that many viewers from larger streamers because it's like an ecosystem type thing. So that's why there are less viewers watching Wrath of the Lich King Classic. And also the big reason is because it's fucking boring. It's easy, it's formulaic, there's nothing exciting that's happening. People have already seen the arena stuff. It's fucking boring. Like, that's why nobody streams it, nobody gets views doing it.
Now, I suppose when you look at this positively,
I don't think I've seen any streamers playing Dragonflight.
Yeah, everybody's seen
probably
it.
just a typical.
I mean, obviously
expansion launch
they stream it, but I
because
just haven't
the
seen it.
honeymoon period is over. So let's take a little time to compare this against the post-Burning Crusade launch. So when TBC launched, 357,000 people were raiding on the launch week of TBC Classic, and 342 people were still raiding regularly in TBC 4 months after the launch, before there was any significant drop-off, and it started going to about 300,000. So the influx of players to Wrath of the Lich King Classic has been bigger. People raiding anyway. And it's in the ballpark of 50% more players when you compare the peak periods on Ironforge Pro.
Well, Wrath was way more hype than TBC was.
Absolutely.
Like, whenever TBC came out, people were excited for it. But, like, TBC was mainly for WoW enthusiasts. It was for people that love WoW. They used to play back then. They're serious players. TBC hype. Wrath of the Lich King was much more casual. It's when a lot of the, historically, that's whenever the subscribers were the highest. So that's whenever most people started playing WoW back then, was in Wrath. So they even had a term for it. It's called Wrath Babies. And I think people still use that term every once in a while. Max, the guild leader of Liquid, started in Wrath. A lot of people that are serious players now started in Wrath. So, of course, more people are going to come back, and I think the marketing that Blizzard did was way better for Wrath. I think the excitement around it, especially with, like, that fresh server thing, that was also really big. And there are a lot of reasons why Wrath of the Lich King got popular, much more so than TBC. And also because TBC raids were harder. It was harder to do Karazhan than it is to do Nax. Yep. Anybody can do Nax. It took a little bit more time to do Karazhan.
And again, when looking at my own analytics on YouTube, that feels fairly similar. But the drop-off of players has been more severe this time round, and it's happened much sooner. So why has this happened? Well, I predicted this in a video 9 months ago, that it was going to happen.
Little one.
The video was called My Biggest Worries for Wrath of the Lich King Classic, if you want to check it out. One of my biggest worries in that video was that Phase 1 would just simply last too long, because Phase 1 is boring. It's the worst and most dull content you're ever going to experience.
You're going to say that, but in my expectation, you guys can quote me, I hope I'm wrong on this, but I don't think that I am, but Phase 1 Classic WoW is going to have the highest raid participation of all of Wrath until maybe ICC, but probably including
I was about to say, ICC probably the only one comes close.
It's easy for you, and it's easy for me, but there are so many brain-dead, dumb-fuck classic Andys that they love raiding Nax because it's easy, they know everything about it, they hope they get Betrayer of Humanity, and they're going to go into the arena and they're going to kill everybody. Yeah, absolutely. It's the same reason why, you know, like you go and look at the amount of people that were raiding Sunwell and the amount of people that were raiding Nax, and it was a lot lower than Molten Core and Karazhan. Now, obviously, that's also because it's at the end of the expansion, so it's hard to really gauge these two things. But I think that there is a trend, same with Retail WoW, that harder raids, you're going to have less people doing them. So I think that Ulduar will be a reckoning for Classic.
In Wrath of the Lich King Classic is why private servers have Phase 1 as more of a run-up phase to get ready for Ulduar.
Yeah, it's almost
Ulduar
like,
really feels
like
more
pre-raid.
like Phase 1.
I think that was the case for PvP as well, when they really started focusing in on Arena. Like, it did blow up a bit, especially with, like, hardcore PvPers. But I think the overall, like, participation in PvP went down because of Arena.
Server.
Because it's just more self-accountability, so therefore it is harder in Arena than a normal BG.
Because you normally only have to raid Nax for about 4 weeks before getting on with some real Wrath of the Lich King Classic content. Private server devs are smart. They want to maintain players after a server launch, and they normally do it pretty well. Well, let's be honest, until a new fresh server comes out anyway. The simple fact is many players are already bored of Phase 1 and have quit to play something else. Which leads us on to our second bit.
I think the problem also is that Wrath of the Lich King Classic for Blizzard does not exist inside of a vacuum. Like, they have Wrath Classic, they have Dragonflight, they have whatever they're going to do with Season of Mastery, and then in a greater sense, they have their other games, like Overwatch, Diablo 4 that's going to be coming out. And these games are all going to have content releases that are probably not going to be on the same day, that will continuously keep players in the Blizzard ecosystem. And I think that's one thing that private servers don't care about because they're not Blizzard.
Biggest reason, and that is Dragonflight. Now, Dragonflight has had a more successful launch than what was expected, mainly due to the gameplay improvements and the
Dragonflight is good.
removal of systems that players didn't like in previous expansions. And this very likely stolen some of the classic WoW audience. Now, I emphasize the word some here, especially some of the casual audience anyway, because, or what you would call on and off MMO players. Because I still think the vast majority of classic players just haven't touched Dragonflight. There's a lot of classic players.
I don't know. Oh, look who it is!
Who don't just dislike retail, they passionately hate it.
Yeah, that's
so I
true.
think
There's definitely some
of the
classic Andes.
classic WoW players have gone and played Dragonflight, but combine the small player base being stolen on top of a lot of players just quitting from simple boredom, and then you do...
I think that really a lot of classic players probably did try out Dragonflight. This is kind of what I would guess. But I don't know if they'd stick around. It's like Dragonflight is just... The thing is, like, classic WoW is a very easy game. Dragonflight is not an easy game. Like, I will say doing a plus 20 Ruby life pools is harder than any content that will be released in Wrath of the Lich King. And it's not even close.
Have a big drop. I mean, this drop very likely is a third or a quarter of players. The novelty of new classes and quality of life systems has worn off because there's not enough content to play. You have to keep players interested in your game, otherwise people will leave. The main way MMOs do this is obviously by releasing new patches, new content, or by having a fun, replayable, competitive PvP mode with very short entry requirements.
I don't think people give a fuck about PvP as much in Wrath as they did in original Wrath. People have already done that. And I think back in Wrath, this was in like 2008, 2009, a lot of people in Cataclysm stopped playing Cataclysm whenever League came out and whenever Dota got really popular. Because a lot of people liked what WoW had, but they liked Dota and League more. But now you have so many other PvP games that you're never going to recapture that effectively like monopoly that WoW had on players wanting PvP in this type of a form.
Problem with Phase 1 is
PvP
it's
game,
a raid we've already done. We've done Naxxramas. being there got the t-shirt. So effectively, there was only 2 new raid bosses and some new heroic dungeons. So you may be thinking, why didn't Blizzard release Order War earlier and release Dragonflight later? And it's because the population of Wrath of the Lich King Classic, it doesn't matter to Blizzard as much as the population of Dragonflight.
And it shouldn't.
Because the population of Dragonflight is more monetizable. Even
Well,
if
it's not even that it's more monetizable, it has more longevity.
Exactly.
I think anybody would assume that by the time Classic Cataclysm comes out, it will not be like... I feel like people's excitement for Classic is like, this is Classic, this is TBC, this is maybe Wrath. I felt like Wrath was going to be worse than TBC, but apparently not. But like Kata is like, whoo, like that's the cliff. I think Classic ends after
I thought Wrath would be much higher than TBC.
So it's like, of course, it's a bad idea to focus on player.
I don't think anyone's
going to
really give too much
shelf life.
Care too much about Kata.
As people play Dragonflight, they'll probably still be able to make more money from the Dragonflight audience with case before the end of the quarter. Therefore, you have loads of people buying the expansion. Why do you?
Yeah, I think that's true. This happens all the time. I remember this happened with PUBG whenever it got actually released. It wasn't ready, but they released it anyway.
I think also this quarter
Most companies do it.
The year-long subscription reward for Wrath of the Lich King
I think a lot of them are learning from that, but at the same time, it's still
happening.
Now,
we might be getting a bit dramatic here, but in my humble opinion, this highlights the downfall of the MMO. Ever since developers have tried to squeeze more money from their player bases out of less players, the quality...
I think he's connecting 2 dots that really aren't the same. Like, even if Dragonflight did not monetize as heavy as Wrath of the Lich King Classic, like, they would still focus more on Dragonflight than Wrath of the Lich King. It just makes sense. Like, it would be weird if it was the other way around.
The quality of the product itself has declined.
I don't know if that's really true. I think, like, for example, you have a game like Lost Ark that makes a ton of money, and it has quality raids, and it's pay to win. And then you also have New World that came out, and it wasn't pay to win, but it had less quality options. And then you have WoW that's somewhere in the middle. You have Final Fantasy that doesn't have that problem. In my opinion, I think that people are very much looking forward to MMOs. That's why every single time that a new MMO comes out, it is the top of Twitch. Like, even Wrath of the Lich King Classic, Dragonflight, like Tower of Fantasy for a week was at like the top 5 categories, and it was like just some no-name fucking Chinese Honkai Impact ripoff. Lost Ark was at the top of Twitch for months. New World was at the top of Twitch for like 1 or 2 months. People love MMOs, and that's reflected by every single graph that every game has had. The problem is that people don't love the MMOs that are actually out because they don't hold people's interest.
You'd think with the company making more money from the player base, it would mean that they would reinvest this money into making a better game and releasing more content for that game.
I think they're doing that. Like, my opinion is that Dragonflight has been exceedingly successful. And that's why almost everybody who I've talked to, everybody acknowledges 2 things. That the player base for Dragonflight is smaller than the player base for Shadowlands, that the game has less people that are playing it, but at the same time, they're happy with the game and they don't mind.
Exactly.
How do you know that? Well, I don't know about everybody. You're right about that. I know about, like, I've talked to, like...
I would say the majority of people. Like, it's more like most people don't really care how many people are actually playing the game as long as it's not actually dying. As long as the game is better. Like, that's the important part. Because better game is going to equal more players eventually.
30 people about this, like private, like friends, people like comments I've seen on YouTube, like other content creators. I think that's my sample size. So yeah, I don't know everybody, of course, but I think that Dragonflight, the content that it has is good. It did all of the foundational things relatively well. Vault of the Incarnates is a good raid. Mythic Plus is relatively good. Arena solo queue has been fucked.
I've been really wanting to.
I made a tweet about this because people keep leaving, but overall, people like solo queue.
I've had fun with solo queue, other than how long it takes.
New things that you're going to be able to do in the game.
To get in a game
is unironically good and looking like it's going to get better.
game, but that is absolute copium. Okay, no offense to anyone who thinks that, but it is absolute copium. And releasing more content for that game, but that is absolute copium.
Okay, why?
Okay, no offense.
I mean, they're obviously releasing new content. They have a roadmap, and is it copium to believe they're going to follow the roadmap? Maybe. I think that's obvious because the amount of they have to follow the roadmap to a degree. Like maybe missing little things is fine, but there's no way the player base would be okay if they missed majority of that roadmap.
To anyone who thinks that, but it is absolute copium. I definitely think there are some exceptions out there in the industry. You know, it's not all doom and gloom. Not every game developer company is pure evil. But what's fairly obvious is Blizzard would never care about making Classic WoW the best possible product they could possibly can, because it will make them less money than releasing a...
If he's talking about Classic in particular, then he's right. Yeah, I think he's talking about Classic specifically, not...
I think he's talking about both, but I could be wrong.
Like World of Warcraft as a whole. Because he's differentiating them here.
The cash shop.
Yeah. So
Blizzard will at least make Classic good enough to keep people playing it, but they won't unleash its full potential, while a more monetizable version of
the reason why they're not going to release Classic's full potential is because it will take a lot of work and it will require new content. Classic's full potential is Classic Plus. Wrath of the Lich King Classic is nice, but when did OSRS really pop off? Whenever they started making new content for it. People want the Karazhan Crypts. They want a Scarlet Monastery raid. They want Grim Batal. They want the Dragon Isles in Classic WoW. That's what's going to bring people back.
Game still exists. Yep. And this is why Phase 1 lasted too long. It doesn't matter to Blizz if people quit Wrath of the Lich King Classic. What doesn't matter as much. A lot of the players probably already bought this year.
I mean, to a degree, it does matter. If it was really, really dying, they probably wouldn't even bother with Kata. But, I mean, I think it matters to a degree.
A long subscription model anyway for the mount. And Dragonflight has the same subscription. So they can maintain the same paying customer by just drawing them into playing Dragonflight instead.
Which is a good thing, by the way. I think this is a good thing. Making Classic players and retail players WoW players instead of just being one of the different games, I think this is good and more healthy for the game.
Yep.
If you think about it...
Because it makes it to where whenever Classic WoW has a lull in content, Dragonflight doesn't, and vice versa. This is good if you are a WoW player.
Classic is just a free add-on to the main World of Warcraft subscription. If they split the subscription model, Classic WoW would definitely be a very different product. What I mean by that is, imagine if Classic WoW had a separate subscription model to retail World of Warcraft. You know, maybe Blizzard would optimize
that's what you just said.
Maintaining the Wrath of the Lich King Classic play base more and have their releases more staggered throughout the year and not too close to releases from retail.
I think if they had two separate subscriptions, it would kill both games.
I don't know if it would kill the main game. It would definitely hurt it. That's without a doubt. But it would almost guarantee... I can't guarantee it, but it's I have a feeling that would almost 100% kill Classic. I don't know what he's talking about in terms of they should make it separate. That's insanely bad idea.
It would be one of the worst decisions Blizzard could ever make.
Yep.
But, if we're going to be honest, they'll probably just find new ways to monetize the Wrath of the Lich King Classic audience and make more money out of less players.
Oh, they will.
Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Absolutely. You got to remember it's a development team. It's a business. They can't do charity works.
They're gonna add probably a boost or something like that in Wrath. Probably
or
add
the
a
WoW
store
token
amount or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised or something.
If they haven't already.
Sure.
Down below anyway, because I think it's an interesting topic to talk about.
I don't think they're gonna do.
My name is Manny Goblin. To the next video. Ciao.
They could, if they really were on that track of making such bad decisions that they separated the subscriptions. I wouldn't put anything past them.
Yeah, I think this is a decent video. Obviously, the question of why people are quitting Wrath Classic is very simple. The answer is very simple. It's because Nax is boring. It's been out for a long time. Dragonflight's come out. People are doing that, and other games are out, and people move from game to game. That's just how people play video games now. It's the same as Elden Ring. I mean, Elden Ring experienced this. It was game of the year, and a lot of people agreed with that. I think that if you were able to see the player base for God of War, it would probably be about the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's because it came out so close to Dragonflight as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he phrased it exactly. Like, people aren't exactly quitting Wrath of the Lich King. They're just not playing it for a time because, something else is out. So I'm sure once Old Year comes out, ICC and stuff like that, every time those things come out, you're going to see a rise in player base and then a drop down again. Kata, I think, is going to be like a true test on whether Classic is going to continue. Like, I mean, like in terms of like continuing the expansion. So I just don't think it's going to do as well. And I don't know. I just have a feeling like if it doesn't do well, Blizzard's not going to continue releasing the other ones. So we'll see. But yeah, interesting video.